there's authoritarian content and there's borderline content. And after hearing this, I think I know where I fall on the spectrum of things. This is episode 1935 with Kyle Kulinski on the Joe Rogan Experience. He talks about some very interesting things in this clip. It's about what kind of content is going to be pushed towards you when it comes to YouTube and what content is going to be withheld from you. Very, very interesting. I did not realize that this was a thing. I mean, it always made sense that if you were like a flat earther or, you know, a wild out there, you know, conspiracy theorist of some kind, that they would like kind of pull your content back. But I didn't realize, you know, what borderline is considered. So just listen to this clip. It's pretty interesting. Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. Subscribe.
Right. Here's the issue, though, is that YouTube, unfortunately, has set up a tiered system. So they have authoritative news, and then they have what's called borderline content. And so shows like mine are put into the borderline content category. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. They're afraid of, because back in 2017, there was some like big company ad, like a Nestle ad or something that ran on a white nationalist video. And so a bunch of media outlets wrote these articles that were like, oh my God, look at what YouTube's doing. They're radicalizing people. This is terrible. And so YouTube reacted to that by, they just wanted to cut their losses, and they said, just defund news and politics right now. That was what was called adpocalypse. So they cut off all the funding overnight for
what was that?
Independent news.
What was the catalyst for that? What was the video that did that?
I don't know what the actual video was. I know it was like a white nationalist video that ran like an official ad.
We should find out what that was.
Yeah, you'd have to go back to 2017 articles to find it.
Because I remember adpocalypse, but I remember just going, what is going on, and not paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I covered it at the time. It was huge for us because we were one of the ones affected. We went from, we literally, all the money wiped out overnight, and we didn't know when it was going to come back. Now, thankfully, it did come back about a week or two later, but it was never really the same since then. And it was in 2018, I believe, the YouTube CEO said, look, we're addressing the misinformation and disinformation problem. And so now we have authoritative content and borderline content. And so the YouTube algorithm pumps the authoritative content and like suppresses the borderline content.
Is it PewDiePie?
PewDiePie.
But PewDiePie was not a white nationalist.
And which year?
He's just a shit poster. You know, he's like a funny
yeah, that's
guy.
true. If this is true, then it's even worse than I remember it being.
PewDiePie in 2017, the most subscribed YouTuber of all time, at the time rather, came under fire for posting videos that YouTube deemed anti-Semitic and hate speech. These videos included references and jokes about Adolf Hitler, as well as two Indian men holding a sign stating "Death to all Jews." At the same time, videos including Chief Keef dancing to Alabama N-word and other extremist content were surfacing, leading to the UK government, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Johnson & Johnson, and many other major brands pulling or pausing their advertisements on YouTube. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so they rolled out this whole system to deal with this, and they end up suppressing us, you know, and basically putting us in league with stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know,
is weird.
It's a struggle. It is a struggle because we were growing at a tremendous clip.
Yeah.
And then basically overnight, it's like they flipped a switch in the algorithm and boom. Now, the issue is with recommendations. So now, if you're already subscribed to me, you're going to see a bunch of my stuff pop up. If you're not subscribed to me, it is very unlikely you're going to get one of my videos pop up in the recommended algorithm. So you can't really grow when that's the case. You're just basically keeping your fan base.
So the way you grow is doing other people's podcasts and getting people from their fan base to come to you, like Patrick Bet David.
Well, not even that. It used to be if you typed in whatever news thing you were interested in, one of the top videos could be a secular talk video. But now, if you type it in, it is never that. There was a time when we used to run circles around CNN. They'd get like 2,000 views a video back in like 2015, and we were getting way more than that, 30,000 or whatever it was. And then now you go look at any CNN video, even though the thumbnails are shit, the titles are shit, the content is shit, they'll get 300,000, 400,000 views. Because that's what YouTube can decide to make somebody or break somebody like that. Just by tweaking the algorithm. If they decided, hey, what if once every 6 months we put a secular talk video on the front page of YouTube, that would immediately like double the size of my audience.
It's interesting. I wonder how much they think about that impact. And I wonder if they just look at it in terms of like bottom line, making money.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
They're scared of advertisers running away. And look, they don't know what I'm going to say.
Right.
They don't know what I'm going to say. For all they know, I'm going to come out tomorrow and say, I think the flat earth theory is real. And then it's like, okay, boom, scandal. Then they suppress me even more, right? But they don't know that there's a body of work there. I put my record up against anybody else's in terms of giving the facts and the information. And then I give my take on it, of course. But the facts and the information comes first. And they just throw us in league with the borderline content. And they say, look, he's not reputable because he's not with a major media outlet. And of course, the irony is, all these major media outlets have made horrendous mistakes over the years. Not being kind by calling them mistakes. Like these are the people who cheerleaded us into the war in Iraq.
Exactly.
Man, see, the thing that's interesting is that Kyle Kulinski, he's a news guy. I mean, even though YouTube may not tier him as such, they may put him in borderline with PewDiePie. They put him in line with PewDiePie and me, which is pretty cool. But he's a news guy, and he is reputable in the sense that, like he said, he does a lot of research. He comes with a very level-headed point. He's not Alex Jones throwing his hands in the air, going nuts. Like, he's very much like, if you ever heard of like Tim Pool, he's like Tim Pool. But I guess even Tim Pool would be considered borderline content. Like, anybody who's not within CNN, NBC, ABC, like all of the reputable people, that you're considered borderline. You're right along with the flat earthers. That's weird. Like, I'm not a flat earther. But for sure, this content is branded as such. And the thing that I guess people can do to actually fight that, if there's anything you can do to really fight it, you would have to, and this is not like a shameless ad of like, hit that notification, but like, you'd have to do that. And on top of that, you'd probably have to check in with that channel regularly. Because I know in the past, now that I know about this, it makes perfect sense. I've had so many times where I'm like, I haven't seen a video from XYZ in so long. And then I go and I check and I'm unsubscribed. Or I had the notifications on and now they're turned off. That happens all the time. Sorry. So it makes perfect sense now. And I'm not saying that YouTube's doing that actively, but somebody's doing it. It's not me. I don't know. It's very, very odd to hear that kind of thing. I don't want to say it's authoritarian because they are a company and it's a company that pays me, and like, I'm completely supportive of getting paid in this company, but that's sad to actually hear, because I'm not a news guy myself, but I see a guy like Kyle Kulinski and I'm like, well, that guy should be heard. You know what I mean? It's like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's bringing more to the forefront of people's eyes than anybody in media right now. And given the rules that Kyle Kulinski just laid out, he's borderline content. He's a flat earther. It's kind of weird what they do. And it kind of makes you think, like, when you're seeing certain things over and over again, you're seeing CNN talk about something, ABC, MSNBC, like all those platforms, even the WEF, because I'm sure they're considered authoritarian news, like, or at least they're treated like that in the algorithm. It's like they really are unintentionally, because again, they were trying to save themselves from losing ad revenue, but they're unintentionally trying to flavor our opinion, trying to kind of persuade us in a certain way, because the things that you see all the time, those are the things that you take in. Like, if I see a CNN video 10 times in a week, eventually I'm going to be like, what is this video I keep seeing? Like, that's just going to happen. And then whatever that video says, a lot of the time, we won't take it all in as fact, because people have a healthy distrust, as they should. But you're going to see the guy in a suit, and you're going to see him very proper, and he's going to be looking at you very opinionative and giving you, what the newscasters give you. And you might get swayed. And it's sad that YouTube might have a hand in that, I'm sure this is nothing that you didn't already know. But that was YouTube. Oh no. Is this thing still on? I'm sure this is nothing that's new to you, but I don't know. It's kind of new to me. I didn't realize the degree, because, whether it's the Young Turks or or the people who Rogan just had on, these two news people. They were like, one's left and one's right. I believe one of them's name is like Sagar. Like, those people are all considered borderline solely because they refuse to align themselves with these big networks. I don't know, man. I've always felt like independent journalism is journalism. I feel like once you hitch yourself to one of those big companies, you're no longer a journalist per se. You're now a personality. You're now somebody who has to persuade people. You're now somebody who has people above you who have a bottom line in mind, who have certain companies in mind. And like, now you have to kind of, what you say has to align with what they're about. And if it doesn't, then you're out. And that's not journalism. That's acting, you know? So it's sad to see guys like this who are actual journalists have to get this kind of raw deal. And it's worked out for him, because if you listen to the podcast, this gentleman hasn't had to talk to a sponsor in 10 years. He does it all through his community, and that's great. But it's like, they're really like a world that makes it really hard for independent journalism is a sad world, you know? It's like taken over by corporations, in a sense, because you have to bow down to what they say. If you want to be seen, and you want to be heard, you have to bow down to what they say constantly. And like, at first you're just bowing like this, and then you're bowing like this, and then you're like this, and the next thing you know, you're under the fucking table. Well, I will stay borderline for life, because I doubt CNN or anything would let me wear this hoodie on. Can you imagine me? I'm sitting with Tucker Carlson. Hey, Tucker, what's going on? Nah, not happening. But yeah, just really interesting. Check this podcast out. It's Kyle Kulinski, Joe Rogan. The episode is 1935. And the minute that I was at, I forgot to say it at the beginning, but I started at 30 minutes. So if you jump in at 30 minutes, you can hear all about that. And they go really deep into a lot of really, like, this guy's really done a lot of research into the government into both sides. He's a left guy. He's a left-leaning guy, but he definitely has a very balanced view of everything, you know? So, yeah, check it out. All right, I'm out.